I'm Anthony O'Flynn, I'm the Director of Holistic Yoga and Meditation, and today is December 20th, 2012. So obviously we're just one day away from this much focused on date of the end of the long count of the Mayan calendar, the end of a 5,125 year cycle, and many people are very curious and anticipating what will come tomorrow. Well, to put many of your fears aside, do not worry about this date, do not fear anything. Tomorrow is not the end of the world. There won't be any cataclysms, there won't be any horrific natural catastrophes or otherwise. It simply marks the end of a cycle and the beginning of another cycle. And this basically is the key once in a 26,000 year alignment of the Sun with the center of the Milky Way galaxy that the Mayans had so encoded in their cosmology and in much of their spiritual traditions. They understood that time was simply not linear, it was cyclical in nature, and essentially we're moving from one age, one period of history to another, which has been prophesied in many different traditions. Many different spiritual paths have actually talked about this coming of a so-called new age, a so-called golden age, a more elevated, spiritual, compassionate world. And this essentially, according to the Mayan cosmology, is the beginning of this process. So it's important to acknowledge that tomorrow is not the end of the world. It's also important to acknowledge that tomorrow is not spiritual enlightenment, which many other groups have also talked about, this idea of instantaneous spiritual enlightenment. This is not going to occur either. It simply marks the beginning of a new cycle. The big questions we have to really think about when we consider the Mayan prophecies is how quickly will this new era, this new dawn, this new way of living, this elevated consciousness manifest, and in what way? Well, it's important to look at Izapa, which is the place of the oldest tradition of the Mayan calendar, the long count of the Mayan calendar, and look at actually what the Mayans were trying to speak to us in the form of this cosmology. The ball court at Izapa is basically the key place that the Mayans built this ball court to actually mark the rising of the sun through the east, from the east, on December 21st, 2012, to mark the winter solstice as it is in the northern hemisphere. Now, the ball court is essentially the place of a game which the Mayans actually used to play with this ring that resembles similar to a basketball ring, where they had to kick the ball through with their feet. So the ring is actually symbolizing the Milky Way, the center of the Milky Way, where there's actually a black hole. And the Mayans actually knew about this black hole before Western science did. Their way of calculating time is absolutely incredible. They're able to calculate lunar and solar eclipses well into the future, even taking into account the changing rotational speed of the Earth itself. Absolutely incredible way of calculating time. They were simply the most amazing sky watchers, and their calendars, their sophisticated way of calculating time has only been matched by us in the last century. So when we consider the ball court at Izapa, we have the ring as basically being the center of the Milky Way, the womb, if you like, the dark rift, which is essentially the feminine aspect, and the ball actually representing the sun moving into the center of the Milky Way. And this is the alignment that is occurring tomorrow, which is a process that has been occurring for some time. Many people are talking about this shift in consciousness. It's ongoing, and we're in a period now of great transformation. Now, what's also important to understand from this iconic game the Mayans played was the actual participants themselves. The players of the game would actually determine the outcome. And this is essentially a message that we need to take on and understand, because it's through our own free will, through our own actions, through our own co-creation, that we actually are creating the future moment by moment. And that's why the future is uncertain, the future is unwritten, and it's simply up to us in this great time of history to create the more harmonious, balanced, compassionate, wise way of living. And that's why this alignment signals the actual union of the ultimate masculine, the sun, with the feminine principle, the womb, and essentially the womb of creation. So we have this polarity between the plus and the minus, and remember, this is how the alignment is perceived from Earth itself. So when we consider this period of history, it simply marks a new cycle of time, and how fast that consciousness manifests is actually up to us. Remember, this can be a slow process. Each age is approximately 2,100 years long, so that means that the precession of the equinoxes occurs at a speed of approximately 72 degrees per year. So that means it's a slow process. This transformation may take decades, hundreds of years. It's very difficult to say. We live in a time of acceleration, and there is definitely the possibility that there could be a dramatic acceleration of consciousness, but this simply won't create instant enlightenment on December 21st. So we have this precession of the equinox, which was also very much known and understood by the Maya culture, and we're basically moving from the age of Pisces to the age of Aquarius. So similarly, as the old age is fading away, the new age is also being born. So it's a paradigm shift. As much as the old age, the old ways of doing things will slowly deteriorate, will slowly disappear, there will be new things, and this will be a more humanitarian time, a more time focusing on the collective, and this is marked by the age of Aquarius. So there'll be a lot of new technology and so on, which is already occurring. It's not as if this will happen magically from one day to the next. It's a period of transition. We live in amazingly prophetic times, and it's an amazing time to be alive. And please do not fear this end of the mind calendar. There is nothing to fear. There is no doomsday. There is no cataclysm coming on December 21st. It simply is the end of the fifth sun, as the Maya calculate it, and the beginning of the sixth sun. So enjoy the summer or winter solstice, depending on where you are on this planet, on December 21st, and meditate, contemplate, consider positive intent, and let's hope that we can transform this world from crisis to harmony and create the golden age of mankind, Satya Yuga as it's known by the Hindus. So, wish you every success for the coming year. Merry Christmas, and invest in your soul.